it was yeah, it looked fabulous. It was a great turnout. It was really fun. Pontian, it used to be Emerald Hall. It's back in one of those industrial parks off
Oh, that used to
across
be
from high
Emerald
school.
Hall?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they had like drapes on the walls and uplighting and jazz band and DJ later on. So yeah, I got there about 6:30, 6:40, and next thing I know, I'm like, oh, it's 11. I have to go home. Yeah, so it was really a great turnout.
Good.
Yeah. So it was fun. Oh yeah, made it just in time. And do we have anything on the A&R plan or the request for as-built approval? Or did I just not find it? Oh, I have the report.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have some full-size plans I can hand out when you
Okay.
call it.
Okay. I guess he's ready tonight. Everybody ready? Okay.
Pertaining to, that's from our charter.
Yeah, but I mean, the Mass General Law defines certain things like terms of office and so on. And I'm not sure that it doesn't define that the board
It definitely doesn't.
Yeah.
The general laws don't talk about
The chair at all.
designating
Yeah.
positions.
But why don't we, I don't want to have any conversation before, so we'll go through the old new business, and then if we have questions, we'll do it during the meeting. Okay, all right. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting for Braintree, Tuesday, January 9th. We have a full board here today for our first meeting of 2024. The 5 voting members tonight are myself, Member McCamey, Member Kent, Member Grove, and Member Storlazzi, unless comes up separate than that for any particular reason. Okay, so our public hearings start at 7:15, so as we usually do, we'll start with our old new business. And the first item on our list is a approval not required subdivision plan for Liberty Street and rear Liberty Street. I know we have a staff report from Director Santucci-Razzi.
Would you like me to go first, Madam Chair?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
great, thank you.
And Connor's just passing out some full-size plans here. The engineer of record is here, Eric Shoemaker, and also Mr. McGurty is here as well. This is 2 parcels. I'd call it Upper Liberty Street. They don't have addresses at this point. One of them is essentially almost like a right-of-way strip, and then there's a very large parcel. Mr. McGurty is looking to combine those 2 pieces into one buildable lot with a 56.24 feet of frontage on Liberty Street. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, move this giant cup out of the way.
Good evening. My name's Eric Shoemaker. I'm with McKenzie Engineering Group, and we drew the A&R plan and did the on-the-ground survey. So, like Melissa said, the purpose of the plan is under survey note number 12, and our intent is to combine parcel number 1081-0-56 with a total area of roughly 222,000 square feet with assessor's parcel number 1081-057 with a total area of 7,900 square feet to create Lot 1, which we shown on the plan. The only other things to note of the site, it's bordered by residential uses on Liberty Street to the east. There's residential uses on all sides of the property. We have the required lot area and frontage under your zoning bylaw. There's a limit of bordering vegetated wetlands complex located in the central portion of the site. And factoring in the contiguous upland that we have available from Liberty Street, I believe there's roughly 1.5 acres left. So that's just a quick summary of the site. I can answer any questions that the board members may have.
Thank you. So the wetlands are the top area of the plan, and then the uplands the bottom?
Yeah, there's a call out, limit of bordering vegetated wetlands. It's kind of in the central portion of the site, and it flows up into the northern part of the lot.
All right. Member McCamey, any questions?
Thank you. Could you please tell us what the plan is for this A&R?
Yeah, at the moment, we're trying to file a grading permit for the proposed single-family home on the site, and we're in the process of working with the Conservation Commission to file a notice of intent with that application. So I believe we had one meeting with the Conservation last week. We're in the process of making some revisions to the drainage system to capture the roof, and we should be expecting the site plan soon with that single-family home design.
Okay, so just one home, and then the rest of the area is going to stay open?
That's the plan at the moment, correct.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member Kent?
No additional questions, as is often the case. Member McCamey beat me to it, so I'm good.
Thank you. Member Grove?
No, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Member Storlazzi?
No questions, thank you.
Member Conley?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I don't have any questions either. Thank you.
Okay.
Director?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to note, we will be advertising that grading permit that will show more of the questions that Member McCamey had for February.
Okay.
Yep.
Great, thank you. All right, so I think we'd just be looking for a motion to endorse the plan as approval not required.
So move.
We have a motion by Member Kent. Do we have a second? Second by Member Grove. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Okay. Now, move to the next item on the agenda, which is the request for as-built approval, Planning Board File 2118.
Sent him some comments from the last meeting when we had tabled it, and I have not received an updated as-built plan to date. So that will be back on in February.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and table that. All right, and then I'm going to skip down to the approval of meeting minutes from September 12th, 20.
Not ready yet.
Okay, all right, there we go. I
Wishful
was going to
thinking.
say, I wasn't sure if I just couldn't find them. All right, so we'll table that for February
You
also.
missed 25 pages of meeting notes.
Okay. All right, and then, let's see, so the last item on our old new business is Planning Board reorganization. So we did receive a letter from Mayor Aaron Joyce appointing Planning Board Chair as myself. So I'm not 100% sure how the process works. Director, do you have any additional
At this time, Madam Chair, and congratulations, obviously, we can see here from the town general ordinance that the mayor selects the chair, and then we need to accept nominations for vice chair, and currently serving as the clerk and longstanding clerk is Member McCamey. The board can choose to reorganize that position as well, or they can choose to just do the vice chair.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I know that we got this letter about 2 minutes before the meeting started, so we can either table the discussion of the other elections for February, or we can go ahead if there are any nominations this evening, address it now.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Member Grove.
I still have some reservations whether this shouldn't be a board decision, especially in light of what the director was just saying, that we're given that opportunity for vice chair and clerk. Given that thought process, I would make a motion for the board, irrelevant to the mayor's request, that you be nominated as chair.
All right. Well, thank you. I do see where it cites the charter and where it does say, I know this came up a little bit last year when we had the vacancy in the chair, that it is a decision of the mayor under the Braintree Charter. But it sounds like, Director, do you have any thoughts is there any issue with wrapping in a vote on that nomination, or should we
For the
just leave it?
chair?
Right.
The board, the ordinance is clear, Madam
Okay.
Chair. The board, I mean, specifically here, the mayor shall designate one of the board members to serve as chair. I mean, that's pretty clear. Following up by, and the members shall choose one of its members as vice chair, clerk, and/or secretary. So we have just the vice chair,
Okay.
and we call it the clerk, not the secretary. So the ordinance is pretty clear. I would suggest that the board follow the ordinance. If they would like to make nominations, as I said previous, for the vice chair, and I would default to the board members. If they want to table it in the event that you are not able to be the chair and we do not have a vice chair, Member McCamey would step into that role as clerk.
Okay. All right, so,
Madam Chairman,
Member Grove,
can I make a suggestion?
sure.
You have a nomination before you. If we proceed and vote through that, you can always go back and reinforce it with a vote on the mayor's request.
I don't believe the mayor's request has a voting component. We do have the letter from the mayor. My suggestion would just be to table it until next month, and then if there's any questions, considering the timing of when the letter came in, that we did just receive it.
My concern is if this is found to be illegal, like our terms are, there are no unlimited terms on the planning board, that at least your position is certified one way or the other.
Right. And I do appreciate that, and I just think, considering the time frame of when we got the letter, it's probably best to just table it until February, and then I think that way we can nominate and do whatever for the other positions and make sure everything's
Okay, then I'll
100% clear.
withdraw my nomination.
Okay, thank you, Member Grove. Okay, all right. So we have another minute before we can open up the public hearings.
Do we have to make a motion to table?
No, I don't,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of like but very, very good question.
Yeah.
So obviously, per the mayor, we have a chair, and Member McCamey will stay on as clerk, and we will address vice clerk. Is there any information that the board would like me to gather for the next meeting? Okay. All right, just checking. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you. Oh, it's only 7:12. All right, stand by, everybody. We have about 2 more minutes. Yes.
The Torrington site, the Chick-fil-A site, that has fallen into some disrepair with the storms in the recent weeks. Is that something that they're to monitor, or do they, is there a process for notifying them that their site has no longer meeting our standards?
I can let the building inspector know. He would be the one that would have them take any corrective measures as far as a blight ordinance or like safety measures, fencing and things like that.
Thank you.
All right, it looks like it is 7:15. It's a very long 2 minutes. Okay, so this is,
Madam Chair, I read the legal notice?
yes, that would be great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
A notice is given by the Planning Board under the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Sections 9 and 11, and the Braintree zoning bylaw, Chapter 135, Articles 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, that a public hearing will be conducted on Tuesday, January 9th, 2024, at 7:15 p.m. in the Braintree Town Hall. The Planning Board will consider an application from Michael S. and Matthew J. Fabiano for a special permit site plan review pursuant to Section 135-601 for a two-family conversion. The property is located at 460 Pond Street, contains 17,638 square feet, is zoned Residence B watershed, and is shown on Braintree Assessor's Plan 1069 as Plot 1. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. And we'll hear from the applicant, please.
Madam Chair and members of the Planning Board, for the record, my name is Carl Johnson, and I represent Matthew and Michael Fabiano that own the property at 460 Pond Street, the adjacent property at 468 Pond Street, the property to the rear at 460R Pond Street. And Michael and Matthew are seated behind me and are here tonight and can answer any questions the board may have. For background, I submitted an awful lot of information on this matter. I realize that this is under a definition under 135-102 for a two-family conversion that requires a special permit. And with that special permit comes some site plan review. I've met with the planning director and we discussed this, and she gave me a copy of draft conditions which I reviewed and which we find is acceptable with some changes that we will discuss or add to. For the background, this site was a 5-acre site. The house at 460 Pond Street was acquired in October of 1907 and it stayed in the Fabiano family until 2010 when it was conveyed to Brian McCordy and his wife Laura. In 2019, Matthew and Michael Fabiano reacquired the family home in the form that it is in now. You have before you an existing conditions plan and a proposed conditions plan. Also, to meet the requirements of the bylaw, proof was submitted that the dwelling existed on June 18, 1940, was occupied by the Fabiano family. a list of residents over 21 years of age for 1940 was submitted that showed 5 members of the Fabiano family that lived there. A list of residents for 21 years, from 1940 to 2016, was also submitted so you could see the occupants. In addition, a survey, which was a line-of-sight survey and calculation for a proposed new curb cut, I'll speak to you in a moment about, was submitted by Gill and Associates traffic engineers that detailed the calculations and the improvement in the line of sight. The existing and conditions plan and the proposed conditions plan actually move the entrance into the property 40 feet towards the southwest, and improves a couple of things. It improves line of sight, and that was shown by a series of photographs as well as calculations by the traffic engineer, and that is labeled as a 20-foot wide access and utility easement. There are no utilities planned to be placed in there now. All of the utilities that currently serve the house are there, and they come in off of Pond Street. We are going to submit with the final plan a location of those utilities. The utility access easement is one that was, I have a copy of a plan that in 1977 was submitted as an A&R plan, and it went to record. And this proved to be rather difficult. There's more asphalt that needs to be on the site. One of the things that we focused on was a rearrangement of traffic circulation in addition to a change in the curb cut, which added more landscaping, actually 8% more landscaping, and now complies. This also lies in a Residence B watershed protection district, which requires no more than 50% of impervious cover for dwellings constructed prior to 1982. So that this plan meets and exceeds the parking requirements for a two-family, which is 2 per unit. This provides 6. Rearranges it, again, adds asphalt, and we submitted a landscape plan by a landscape designer, which will improve the site dramatically. A couple of conditions that we discussed is that it does show a shed, and the aerials show an additional shed. Both sheds will be removed from the site. That will increase a little bit more on impervious surface. With the site landscaping, with this change in curb cut, unfortunately that there is a moratorium on Pond Street. It was improved, and it won't expire until 2026. So there are no utilities that are planned currently, which would go to the rear parcel 460 for the future, but it would involve a curb cut, and that would require going before the town council to get permission to make that curb cut. It also would be working with Beld. We have to remove a pole that's in the middle, improperly sited on the site, which serves another structure. And again, we will work with, as required in the draft conditions, with Beld and the Sewer and Water Commission for those utilities. As you will see from the proposed and existing, the proposed conditions are all the same except for the improvement in open space, or, lot coverage. And I don't think there were any other issues that we discussed other than location. I will be submitting an easement, which will be for the utility and access agreement that will benefit both 460 will grant it to 460R, which is another, Fabiano's own it, but they own it under an LLC, and that will be submitted to the department prior and with the final development plans. We're here to answer any questions the board may have. I think it's rather straightforward as far as the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. And I believe we had a staff report on this, although I can't find it at the moment. Is that Director Santucci-Rossi, was it
We had the
yours?
draft conditions,
Okay.
Madam Chair, yeah. I apologize, I was kind of tight on time, and given the minor nature of the request here.
Yeah, no, oh, there it is.
One thing I forgot to mention is that this, I know it's relevant, I submitted a letter from the building inspector to Mr. McGordy that was in 2009 or so. It was, and what it indicated is it was laid out as a two-family when he inspected it, and he issued a certificate of occupancy after the second means of egress was added to the structure. However, that the town assessors don't, they still tax this as a single-family resident, and in order to be, with 2 units, and in order to be legalized, if you will, that's why the request has been made, so that it can be properly assessed, and also is in keeping with what the Fabiano family intends to do with the property, so.
Okay, thank you. And did you have a chance to read through the draft?
I did.
Conditions and everything's acceptable there?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and this is a public hearing, and so again, this is on 460 Pond Street. If there's anyone in the public that has any comments or questions on 460 Pond Street. Okay, seeing none, I'll move to the board members. Member McCamey, do you have any questions?
Yep, thank you. As usual, Mr. Johnson, you've done extensive research, and I guess the key point is that this dwelling was established as a two-family residence. That's the key fact.
Yes, and it was always a single family, but it was occupied with a number of bedrooms, a number of people.
Right.
And it was a farm that started back in 1907 and has progressed.
Yeah, okay. And, okay, so we're going to make it two-family, get the taxation corrected, and then you mentioned, what's going to be the use? Are the Fabianos going to live there, or you said they're going to have an LLC, so they're going to rent out the 2 units?
Michael Fabiano and his wife Lisa, new wife Lisa, who is here tonight, live at 468 next door.
Okay.
Matthew does not live, Matthew lives in southeastern Mass, but had lived here. And in the rear, they own the property in there, and they own some residential, large residential lots. The thought has been that in the future, that if, when the town updates its zoning bylaws, this is a perfect site due to the size for open space, residential, open space, flexible development, it's called now, or open space development. The back of this property accesses onto a river, and so that the back, some portions of the back is marsh and so forth, and this would preserve open space. It was also have upland, and it would be almost like a cluster development under that bylaw. And so that's also one of the reasons one of the houses would go. The intent is always to keep the family home. If the other ones go, that would give them access, plenary access, and increase the lot size. As I said, this was a 5-acre parcel divided into 2 lots, roughly 107 each. So they've been reuniting and own most of it now. And in the future, I think it would, they would keep this two-family, and they would probably have someone develop the back for open space development.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a large dwelling, so to redevelop it, I mean, I can see fixing it, but, okay. And I'm just looking at it. It looks to me to be at least 3 entrances, egresses. So could you just explain to us which one is one unit and which one is the other unit?
I think if you look at the plan on the, there always had been a lower level unit, a basement unit, and that's when the grandmother lived there when the other lived upstairs. If you'll see on the site plan that I put in, existing conditions, we also added floor plans on there as well. And if you look at the basement level, the basement is a large unit, which is 2 bedrooms. Mr. McGordy, that was 1 bedroom. He added a separate bedroom. If you'll notice to the left of that, there's a little appendage. That is a second means of egress. That is a means of egress. You also can egress it from upper level, but there's also one in the rear. It's labeled EG, and that's means of egress. That's the lower level.
Okay.
On the second level is actually 1 unit, would be the upstairs in the second floor, and that's access. You'll see EG on that level, and there's a front door, so they have front and back, just like you would in a normal dwelling house that way, and that's the way it's been configured for years.
Okay. And one other question, I'm going to call it a garage, if that's what it is.
It is.
Okay. That's not a dwelling above it, is it?
Well,
Is that just open space?
No. What it was designed as I looked at the permit that was done when Benedict Fabiano owned it. That's correct. Benny Fabiano owned it. He got married and he inherited a large family. And what they did is they had like a pool room up there and so forth. I will tell you that one of the prior owners put a sink up there and so forth. So they use it for that purposes. Downstairs is basically become, there's storage and there's not, there are other equipment in there. So that's, it can be used
There's no
as a
bathroom,
garage.
for example.
Downstairs?
Well, I don't know, in the structure, is there a bathroom?
I think they have one upstairs.
Okay.
In the structure.
Okay. How does that qualify? What is that? Is it on its own?
Well, no, if I may, through the chair to Member McCamey's, this now, this decision and this action, if the board approves this, really cleans this up because they're just getting allowed to contain 2 separate lawful units. So there is that takes away any question of, is there a 3rd unit that would have been recognized, as part of this process. From my understanding, there is nobody living in the garage, and I don't believe they have any intent to occupy the garage at all. If there becomes an enforcement situation, then we just go back to the decision, which is very clear, that is allowed to, said structure is allowed to contain 2 separate and lawful residential units. And then further in the decision as well, and in the draft conditions, we specify the use of the garage and define garage right from the zoning bylaw.
Got it. Okay.
So that really eliminates any, and again, I don't want to speak for them, but I don't believe they have any intentions of having done that or planning to do that.
Yeah. And I'm sure, as you know, Mr. Johnson, we've had people that have come here.
I understand.
Yeah, and try to put relatives in those spots. I can remember it pretty distinctly.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm all set, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Member McCamey. Member Kent?
Question along the same theme. So there's 6 parking spaces for two units.
That's correct.
Usually, we're trying to find the 3rd or the 4th space for the 2nd unit, and now this time we have 6. So it sort of goes back to Member McCamey's question.
Well, right now, the way it is now, there are more than 6. There are more than 6 spaces, and when we try to apportion it, this gives someone, if other people are going to be there, because we've defined the spaces now, and we have landscaping around it so that they're not just open spaces. And I think this works because they're taking up what used to be a pool in the back. It still has a patio around it, grassing that, and there's room for 3 in there that kind of works. Sometimes you have more than more than just the 2 occupants that have it. And there are a number of bedrooms in this house, so 3 people can inhabit one of these units too. So it works well. We thought it was adequate.
Okay, so it's not going to be used for business per se, it's
No.
a dwelling? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Grove?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the finished product's going to comply with the open space requirements? That's what I said, it does. And if you look, right now, it's at 50, this will reduce it down to 46.
Okay. And I was just curious about one other thing, whether there'd ever been any water problems in the basement apartment.
No.
Okay. Good.
There's quite a drop,
On the backside
continuous
of the lot.
drop on the backside of the lot.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Grove. Member Sterlazzi?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I don't have any questions. Thank you for all of the information you provided.
Thank you.
Doctor?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I may, I just want to make sure we cover a couple items. I did have an
We
opportunity
discussed.
to meet with Attorney Johnson today, and I just had some sort of outstanding things that I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. The site plan is going to be updated to show all of the existing utility connections. Talked to Kyle about that today. There was some sheds that, there was a shed that appeared in some photos that was submitted with the application, and then there was also a shed that appeared on the site plan to remain and on the landscaping to be removed, and just confirming, are they both
Yeah,
going to be removed?
both sheds are gone.
Okay, just want to make sure we're on the same page. So that there is a condition about a shed, that condition will be removed. They're going to add snow storage on the plans, just to make sure that those spaces are accessible. And to Member Ken's point, I was also looking at the 6 spaces, and then I said, well, they're going to have the access easement, we don't want anybody blocking that. And then you can't park on Pond Street. So if anybody comes to visit the site, let's get them off the street and let's get them out of the way, so that the way they've separated it, it's kind of nice. There's really no commingling between the tenants. And if somebody needs to block somebody in the back because they're visiting, there's plenty of extra space in the asphalt without impeding the tenants of the other unit. Kyle and I also talked in detail about the utility easement and the access easement and perfecting that. On 2 other items we also spoke about was, if I can point the members' attention to the landscaping plan. The Fabianos have actually prepared, or their consultant has prepared a very extensive landscaping plan that I think will be very nice. Some of that landscaping is actually on 468 Pond Street. And that is to avoid impacting the limits of the right-of-way, but also provides a nice separation between the 2 properties, and there's also some fencing. So there will be a second easement for that area on the 460 property to make sure that in the event that one of these changes ownership or is sold separately, that in granting of this 2-family conversion, we know that the landscaping and the fencing will remain in place regardless of who owns what and so forth. As long as this is a 2-family under this special permit, that is. And then the last item was the trash, and I had just saw a note on the plan that I think I missed when I was doing my review, and I believe it said that the trash totes were going to be stored under the rear deck. I had put in the conditions that they're stored in the garage, so I just want to clarify what the intent for that is.
Attorney Johnson, do you have any information on the trash, whether it's intended to be stored under the deck or in the garage?
Can we just not have people talk from the...
Yeah, Michael, why don't you come up?
If you could just give your name.
Mike Fabiano, nice to meet all you guys. My brother and I have been working on this parcel for a good 12 years now, so this is a big step, and I'll try to explain the trash to you guys, you know. The trash right now currently for the upstairs unit is under the side porch. For the downstairs unit, it's right next to the access way to the main entrance to the downstairs unit. It's a good spot, it's out of the way. Under the deck, you have to duck a little, but it's still out of the way. To move it into the garage would be acceptable, but I mean, then I have to unlock the garage for them every time. You know, the garage is totally not even a part of the two-family. My tenants have no use for the garage, and nor do I have any use for them going in there. If it is mandatory to put the trash in the garage, I will, but I'd like to be able to keep it outside if I can. Maybe we can put it along the back fence or come up with a different idea once the site is, if you guys do allow the two-family conversion and the site is up to date, you know, whatever, we can work with that. But I think keeping it outside of the garage would be better. Just less work for me, having to get a call every Tuesday to say, hey, can you come unlock the garage? 'Cause I don't keep that place unlocked. It's overflow for like extra appliances. Every unit has a refrigerator, obviously, a dishwasher, and it's up to our responsibility to replace those when they do fail. And, you know, that's pretty much what I leave that garage for, is just an overflow, you know. So if we could keep the garbage out of there, that would be great, but I'm willing to work with you guys if need be as well, so.
And the under the deck location, that's on the opposite side from Pond Street, right? Sort of behind.
Yeah,
the
it's
house.
more so, if you're looking at the plan, it's kind of off the back of the house, so it's nowhere near the street. And once the new landscape design is done, it's going to be nowhere impeding in the line of traffic or anywhere anybody's cutting through. It's not a safety issue, so.
Yeah, I personally don't see any issue with that.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to clarify it. I don't necessarily, I just noticed that note, and I know what I had put in the draft conditions. The thing that we would ask, though, is that they get located on the plan, so we know that they fit as well. Connor's pulling up some photos just to see. It looks like we can see some in the back section. But we just want to make sure that those locations are defined and that they're large enough, and, you know, that they're, to your point, that they're not stored like lined up in the front along Pond Street or something like that.
Okay.
We can work with the staff if there's
Yeah.
an issue. I mean, I think we can even enclose that lower part of the porch. We don't want things to be blowing around either, but it's somewhat of a sheltered place. Excuse me.
Sorry, Member Conley?
Outside of the garage.
Yep, okay. So I will work with them.
Okay.
They're gonna have this, they have to add a few things to the site plan anyways. The decision's not gonna get filed until that's done. So they can work with the surveyor to best, you know, take some measurements, and he can denote those areas on the plan.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to clarify that. I
Yeah.
didn't wanna say in the garage and then it becomes an issue.
Okay,
Thank you so
right,
much.
yes, no, thank you for that. Okay, so unless anybody has any other questions, I think at this point we'd just be looking to enter the correspondence into the record.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. So, looking for a motion to enter the correspondence list through January 9th into the record.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Member McCamey and a second by Member Grove. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. And then be looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Member Grove,
Second.
second by Member Storlazzi by a second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. I mean, not that I was voting no, just, there was no opposition. Okay. All right. So now we'll be looking for a motion to approve the special permit and site plan review with the updates discussed on the record tonight.
With the updated conditions and the existing conditions, so moved.
Yes, thank you, Member Grove. And do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Storlazzi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, and we are moving on to 40 Walnut Street. Assistant Director Murphy, if you could read the public notice into the record, please.
Notice is given by the Planning Board under the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Sections 9 and 11, and the Braintree zoning bylaw, Chapter 135, Articles 5, 6, 12, and 11, that a public hearing will be conducted on Tuesday, January 9th, 2024 at 7:15 p.m. in the Braintree Town Hall. The Planning Board will consider an application from Ellis Building and Development Incorporated for a special permit and site plan review pursuant to Section 135-603, permitted accessory uses in residential districts. A, there shall be permitted as accessory uses a garage for not more than 3 cars, a shed, and a swimming pool. Other buildings or structures may be authorized by the special permit granting authority for the construction of a 754 square foot pool cabana. The property is located at 40 Walnut Street, contains 21,886 square feet, is zone residence B, and is shown in the Braintree Assessor's Plan 2035 as Plot 3.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll hear from the applicant first, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Brian Taylor from Stenbeck and Taylor. We're the surveyors and engineers who worked on the project. Matthew Dunn, our client, was planning on being here, but unfortunately his dad passed away and he's in Ohio. His builder, Jay Ellis, is here to address any questions that the board may have. Connor was very helpful in the review process or the submittal process. As he mentioned and explained, we have an existing single-family residence, and the proposed work that falls under the special permit requirement is the addition of the proposed cabana. There was a proposed pool shown on the plan, which has actually been poured. The concrete has been poured, as has the spa concrete. The property is, or the proposed improvements are at the back of the property, which is was previously all occupied lawn area, and the area of the cabana is a kids' play yard, so it's all previously disturbed area. The property is very nicely screened with a solid vinyl fence at the back of the property. On the northerly side, or the right side as you face the property, there's a stone wall with a chain link fence on the top of that, and there's vegetated plantings in Monadequid Ave, which is to the south side of the property, which is a paper street and non-constructed. So in the plan, we tried to be careful to detail the conformity with all the zoning requirements. So we have a zoning table that lists all of the required setbacks, area, open space, etc. We conform with all of the underlying zoning requirements. We also conform with the required setbacks on the proposed cabana. We have a 5-foot rear yard, and 5-foot proposed, and 5-foot required, 5-foot side yard required, and 11.4-foot proposed. So we provided a fence around the perimeter of the pool, which is required by law, so that would be in conformity with the town and state regulations. Addressing the requirements we did a narrative to address the requirements of Section 135-503H4. I can run through all of that. Certainly the proposed improvements are in harmony with the property. As part of this, and attended to this narrative, we submitted an aerial photograph that shows literally all of our neighbors, including the folks across the street, all have cabanas and pools. So the only one that doesn't is the one who abuts us to the south, which I don't know why he hasn't caught up, because he's got room in his yard. So I was going to leave a business card there today when I talked to Connor. We are in harmony, and we cited under the bylaw there'll be no adverse effects to the health, safety, convenience, and welfare of the town's inhabitants. And we cited all of the requirements in that item 1 of the Section 4 petition. There's adequate ingress and egress to the property. There are actually 2 driveways on the property, one on the north, one on the south. There's also a 2-car garage on the property. So we have more than adequate parking and vehicular storage area. The proposed cabana does not create any danger or pollution to the public or private water facilities. We are providing public water and sewer. What we're doing is we're doing an Environment 1 grinder pump or effluent pump, pumping from the cabana. There'll be a single bathroom in the cabana, pumping to the existing service in the house, which is of course connected to municipal sewer. Same for the water supply. We'll be connecting to the town, to the house service, which is obviously metered. So there'll be no exterior alterations to the right-of-ways or anything for utilities. The proposed cabana does not create any danger or pollution to public or private water facilities, public water and sewer systems and drainage. No signage is proposed. There shall be lighting at the 2 entrances to the cabana, and so shall be shielded to be directed onto locusts, and that's noted on the plan. The proposed cabana does not create any glare, noise, vibration, smoke, heat, or odor. We'll continue the use of municipal curbside pickup for the trash, which is stored in barrels in the garage. I mentioned the screening of the abutting properties and the fact that we conform with the setbacks. And in summary, the cabana complements and is compatible and harmonious with the adjacent properties, as I mentioned, evidenced by this aerial photograph that we had submitted. Connor was kind enough to let me know that Hillary in engineering had opined that we have to fall under the minor stormwater permit requirement. We didn't think we had to because it was previously disturbed area. We were modifying less than 2,500 square feet, but I didn't realize that in Braintree you guys consider grading, and even if it's a disturbed lawn and disturb it and reseed it, that's modification. So we will be filing for the minor permit. So, and I spoke with Hillary about that today and sent a note, CC'd Connor on a note to Hillary reiterating what we'll be providing on the revised plan for the next continued hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Assistant Director Murphy, you had noted some open items that I heard some of the answers to tonight. Are there still open items that you're looking for additional information on?
Yes, if I may, through the chair to the board and the applicant. Staff report speaks to some areas in terms of landscaping plans, just in harmony with the special permit and site plan review process, lighting as well, and a couple other components as part of that process. We obviously are looking for revised plans from the applicant. That speaks to the letter from DPW in addition to the comments made in the staff report.
Okay, thank you. And do you understand the?
Yeah, I would just ask,
the
does
updated
the lighting
information.
plan have to be a photogrammetric plan because it's just taking us, those guys are so busy, the turnaround time is kind of challenging. We can show it on all the architecturals, which is what we're going to do. They'll just be regular porch lights type thing. We can get all the cut sheets for the fixtures and all that stuff.
Yeah, just locations and fixtures.
Yeah, okay, we can definitely do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. And this is a public hearing. Oh, yes, Director?
Chair, I wanted to just make a couple comments in general and not in particular to this application. And as far as the community overall and town-wide, and we're starting to see a lot of larger, different types of structures. We had some questions that came up about the garage in the previous application. Is it a garage? Is it a shed? Is it storage? Am I going to, you know, do an activity there on the weekend? Oh, it's just a rec room, you know. So different things are starting to come up, and we're starting to see structures beyond, in this particular case, what the bylaw calls for, which is a garage up to 3 cars, a shed, or a swimming pool. And I just wanted to voice that as something that is, I don't know if it's really at a concern level yet for Connor and I, but it's starting to come up more often. And we're starting to see a pattern, and, you know, people are staying in their homes, they're looking for additional space, they want to improve their properties, and along with that comes additional structures from time to time and the use of those structures. So this is something that we, in fact, tried to regulate, not heavily, but really sort of try to standardize through the comprehensive rezone, which, as we know, was ultimately withdrawn. But there is a concern, and I'll just speak for myself as the director, about accessory structures and them starting to pop up in different neighborhoods. I didn't do the particular review on this one, but my understanding is it's tastefully done. There are architecturals, And we have had other situations in other parts of the community where things might not be so aesthetically pleasing visually, and might not necessarily fall under those categories, and questions have come up. And fortunately or unfortunately, we have this one line in the bylaw that says something about compatibility with the neighborhood or something like that, but with no criteria, no direction. It's very speculative, what you think fits, what Member Conley, that's really all different. So I wanted to just share that with the board, and again, not in particular about this particular application, but this is something that we will likely be looking to have some more regulations around in the future. Different parts of the community, different lot sizes, different setbacks, and thinking about these being accessory structures and that they can be located 5 feet from property lines. And thinking about, again, this neighborhood has a theme and larger lots and things are well situated. We don't have that in all of the neighborhoods. So just something that I wanted to share with the board, and that this is something that you will start to see more of. You know, we look at these aerials and we see a lot of these structures. Frankly, a lot of these should have been subject to this review, and it gets very concerning. Calling some, you know, I qualify, I have this is my shed, it just happens to be 1,200 square feet. So we might have to start to think about the idea of people putting sheds up that are larger than some homes in the community, and what does that look like? This one instance, what we start looking at that is the community-wide, and I think it's something that the board should be kind of thinking about. Thank you, Madam Chair.
We do a lot of work in a lot of communities, and we're facing the same thing.
Yeah.
So today I had 2 different calls by 2 fellows who individually work at home a lot more, and they have sheds and they want to put a bathroom. I'm doing grinder pumps to connect to their septic system, and it's very commonplace now.
Yeah.
And a lot of in-laws, which I think is great because it keeps people from having to move out of town. So it's good to see families stay together too. But yeah, it's a very hot topic.
We just start to think as, okay, this one, what's the next one, what's the next, and it just becomes a, you know, kind of a domino effect. And we've been looking at different properties, and we've come across some structures that, you know, you could live in them. You could live in them.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think, you know, as we eventually look at that grading permit that I really don't like, and some other aspects, and even better if we could look at the zoning altogether. I think
Yeah.
that is an important thing to keep in mind.
Exactly, and, you know, there's probably something that could be drafted that would slightly regulate these. You know, for example, if you're going to do something of this size, you know, maybe it's a little further away from the property lines. But just thinking about context in neighborhoods, and that this particular section of the ordinance applies to all the residential districts. So there is no distinction between a 5,000 square foot lot in East Braintree or a very large 20, 30,000 square foot lot in some of our Residence A areas.
Some towns increase depending on the height of the structure.
Yep, you
They
kick
use
it back,
that
yep.
as a governance that you have to
Yep.
increase. If you have a barn that's 38
Yep.
feet tall or something, you have to increase
Yeah.
the setback requirement.
I mean,
It
these-
just works out good.
To Brian's point, and also these structures could be 35 feet tall.
Right.
So, something that we might want to think about as people work from home, play from home, want quiet space, want the mess somewhere else, and they can clean it up the next day, whatever it might be. You know, the pool house, well, we need the fridge in there, and how are we going to warm up the kielbasa, and, you know, it just keeps, it just keeps going, you know, just keeps going. Thank you, sorry.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so just in case there's anybody here in the audience on 40 Walnut, I'll go back to that before I forget. Well, no? Okay, all right, see if any of the members have questions this time. Member McCamey?
Sure, thank you. Sir, could I just ask that you're kind of speaking away from the microphone? So
sorry.
you really need to move that over.
I'm sorry.
Couldn't hear you clearly on a couple.
Oh, I'm sorry, forgive me.
Yeah, okay, that's
I'm
much
not used to
better.
microphones.
Yeah, no, you're
Usually
kind
I'm
of,
told I speak too loud.
mic's facing what you're kind of, okay, thank you. I'm glad the director brought that up, Madam Chair, because obviously when I looked at the plans, the cabana is bigger than a lot of homes in town. And I guess I'm not saying that that property can't fit it, but to your point, Director, I think we need to be cognizant of these things and fitting in the neighborhood, size. You know, this one obviously has a bathroom, sitting area, kitchen. I don't know, how does that, what happens there? Does that become another bedroom? Where you have five or six kids sleep over, you know, I don't know what happens, because it would be a natural instinct to do these kind of things.
Well, it's interesting because when you look at this aerial photograph,
I'm sorry, sir?
when you look at the aerial photograph, literally all the neighbors save one have
Yeah.
similar size
I'm not-
structures.
well-
I was surprised myself.
Since you're in front of us,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I understand. Yeah.
you get to be
Yeah.
the poster child tonight. But, you know, to the director's point, and of course, the one we had right before this on Pond Street, you know, the garage with the, whatever it is above it. So, you know, I'm sure that it looks like you fit everything in. I mean, it looks awesome.
Yeah, it's a nice layout.
But to the director's point, something we should watch out for. So just following up on that, I mean, you know, it's a nice area, but it doesn't become a rental unit or anything like that, you know. How does that get put into the special permit? Okay, thank you.
If I may, through the chair, obviously they're subject to the floor plan. The special permit's authorizing them to use it as an accessory structure and using it based on what they've submitted in their application. Typically, that's how our decisions look. They want to use it as a pool cabana. It's proposed to be used as that with the entertainment, the wet bar, the bathroom, and some other space inside of there, mechanical room as well. That's the floor plan. That's going to be the record plans as well. So if they come in 6 months down the line with a building permit to start changing that, well, they have a special permit decision that says you can only use it for this. And they would have to come back to the board ultimately to revise that. And if they were looking to do something like that, it probably wouldn't be suggested at that point.
Look, I think it looks awesome. I wish it was at my house. But,
Me too.
yeah, and certainly we can use the revenue. So, if you know, if the director and assistant director don't have any other concerns that we need to surface tonight, but I think her points are extraordinarily well taken. And as you stated yourself, you worked on other projects that may be similar, and we just have to be careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, and the
A lot of towns
homeowners.
are going through the same thing. I'll share anything I think of. I'll happily share any draft bylaws, or because we have a few towns, or my own hometown, Marshfield, is working on it too.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll let the homeowners know
Oh, yeah.
kind of what's
Oh, yeah.
going to go into this.
It's solely as a cabana.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
a very nice sized home to accommodate
Okay.
their family, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member McCamey.
Those two other jobs I mentioned, the wives want the men, the husbands, the hell out of the house. So they're getting, that's why they want to have their offices and their sheds. So that is a factor too.
True. All right.
Well, thank you.
Member Kent, any comments or questions?
Yeah, just to perhaps continue a little bit, the look of a 21-foot-high structure 5 feet from the lot line is a little daunting, and, you know, perhaps there could be a row of trees or something, you know, between the lot line or something to sort of screen that out.
We did ask for that in the landscaping plan. So they have to quantify what's there existing, and then they're going to come back with a proposed plan as well. Staff would like to make note through this board that we would like to see screening and buffering along the cabana, and that's also a criteria for the special permit and site plan review decision.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I drove by there, and it's, the white fences are about 6 feet high in the whole neighborhood with all the other pools, but, you know, the proximity was, you know, of concern, and, you know, it looks like a beautiful structure, but it's a little tight on that 5-foot margin, so. That's it for me.
Thank you. Member Grove?
No, thank you, ma'am.
Member Storlazzi?
No questions, thank you.
Member Conley?
I wanted to echo the concern that this could transition to a guest house that sort of serves a different purpose than a pool house. But I did have a question for staff just in terms of the overdevelopment of this site. There's a lot happening on the site, particularly there's the fire pit out front, and it just seems like there's a lot of sprawl there. And is that something that we consider in our process?
Yeah.
I mean, the coverages were really conservative.
Yes and no. You know, as it relates to the pool that's already there, that's an allowed accessory use, right? And the fire pit's really, our bylaw is silent about the fire pit, but that's mainly a patio area, that's lot coverage. If you look at the zoning table, they meet the zoning requirements for the lot coverage, setbacks, height and whatnot. So when it comes to maybe the size of the structure, the board can certainly weigh in on that. The board can certainly weigh in on the location of the structure as well. If the board feels that the structure is too big or its footprint is too large, the board can make recommendations to reduce that. Maybe ask to increase the setbacks and whatnot, and try to mitigate maybe sprawling along that lot.
And then what's the purpose of the Peeper Street?
That's the layout from Inadequate. So when they laid out Inadequate, it came straight up, and then it probably dead-ended, and then behind that parcel is Packard Drive, which is looks like a cul-de-sac, but it's really a common drive, and a lot of those lots front differently along Packard Drive and West Street.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Member Conley. And I know that this was a public hearing, so legal notices went out, but do you know if they've had any conversations with the property owner behind them?
Jay?
No.
Yeah.
As far as,
Just as far as the height of the building, you know, sometimes the legal notice goes out and you don't think much of it, and then next thing you know, you're looking at a almost 30-foot high building 5 feet from your lot. So I'm just wondering if you know
yeah, I mean,
of-
it was a lot lower than the existing structure.
Right, yeah,
Yes, it's-
topographically, it kind of sits in a hole.
It sits in the hole.
It's a kid's play
There's a
yard
kid's
now.
play area there, which is where the elevation, I guess, of the pool patio and the floor elevation are the same.
Okay.
There's a glass wall there too. So there's like, the whole wall is retractable.
And the stud height, I know we talk about, you know, ridge height, but what, you know, visually you see, the stud height is only 9-foot studs?
I don't even think it's 8'6".
Oh, 8'6",
It's 8'6".
8'6", so you're
8'6"
standard,
studs, and then just the pitch of the roof.
your standard wall. So I think it'll tuck in more, you know, it's not like it's going to be 21 feet high at the stud wall, at the outside perimeter.
The actual garage that we put on there is 28
Right.
on the original edition. This two-car garage was 28 off of Frost.
Yep.
So.
Thank you. Director?
Madam Chair, if I could just ask a question. Sir, you had just mentioned that this is down in a hole, so we have existing topo 135 and 136, and a first floor elevation of 136.8, so you're bringing it up 2 feet.
Right, so
About
the
2
garage,
feet.
the garage slab is at
The
elevation.
garage
So what
slab, the garage
hole-
slab is 137.
I understand that, and this is going to be 136.8, so what
Yeah.
hole are you talking about?
Oh, there's a hole in the back of the property,
That,
the back corner of the property where
Yeah,
this
but that has
is.
nothing to do with the structure.
right, it's going to be,
Okay.
we're going to
Just
be
want to
elevated.
make sure I understand correctly. Thank
Yep,
you.
okay, okay.
Yeah, the top of, yeah.
Finished grade's going to be 136.
Finished grade is 136, yeah.
136.
Which is lower than the Frost, is what I'm saying, I guess.
Yep.
Thank you. And just because I know that our staff is at home taking minutes, and so, sir, your name was Harry Ellis, correct? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I call him Jay.
No, that's all right.
You know, on the coverages, I mean, the max lot coverage is 70% required in the zone, or allowed in the zone, Existing is 37.5, and we'll be 51.9%. So we'll still be, 18% below the max allowable in the zone.
Okay.
But I definitely agree with the landscaping. We usually do that, attenuate everything.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I will say, I drive by the house all the time. It's a beautifully
Beautiful
designed
house.
and beautifully
Oh,
built
the whole
house,
neighborhood is
so
great.
I would expect the
The whole
same.
neighborhood is beautiful, yeah.
Just the size. I do share some concerns with if somebody's surprised looking at it, what that means. But I also understand how the bylaw is written and the discussion about taking a closer look at it going forward. So I think with that, we'll take a motion to continue. We'll look forward to seeing the updated information, and then if you could give our condolences to Mr. Dutton also.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. And so do we have a motion to continue to February? Do you have the date on that?
I believe it is February 13th, yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, so do we have a motion to continue to February 13th?
Motion to continue?
All right, motion by member Mr. Lazzy, second by member Kent. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right, so we have next the continued public hearing for 116 Lundquist Drive. And then, while the applicant is getting set up, why don't I start with Assistant Director Murphy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The applicant, we first opened the public hearing back in November, and we continued to December. The staff had this proposed stormwater system peer reviewed by Eric Diaz of Strong Point Engineering. Eric made 3 peer review letters. On the 3rd letter, he officially signed off on the stormwater system design and had stated that the applicant had met all the comments made at the time. Staff did make minor comments in regards to the site plans and other materials that were submitted. The applicant has addressed those. They addressed them in their November filing in addition to their December filing. Staff did seek the board's permission to draft findings and conditions for the December meeting. Granted, the peer review letter came out a couple days before the meeting. There wasn't enough time for the applicant to respond to that. We prepared draft findings and conditions for tonight's meeting for the board's review. I would ask if Mr. Fasandola could give a brief update to the changes in the plans from what was presented in November.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we'll turn it over to the applicant.
Almost lost it. So for the record, Nick Fasandola, Level Design Group, here on behalf of the property owner and applicant, Atlantic Oliver, 116 the Lundquist Drive LLC. We had Frank Marinelli, attorney, as counsel on this project. He's unable to make it this evening. I believe he did submit a letter to the board detailing he did review the draft conditions, and the property owner and Frank had no concerns with the draft conditions. So quickly, I'll go over the minor changes and give a quick refresher on the project. I know it's been sorry. All right, now we're good. Quick refresher on the project. So what we have here, we have an application for 2 special permits. One's for use within the Watershed Protection District, and the second special permit is for a factory outlet store accessory use to the existing facility. So we have Wallboard Supply, which currently occupies the existing building. They're primarily a warehousing facility and they have a small factory retail store located on the second floor of the facility where they sell accessory goods, taping knives, other supplies that are relevant to the materials that they do sell wholesale from the facility. This area located right here, it's currently a gravel, unimproved outdoor storage yard, and the applicant is proposing to pave that area and improve it and give it real definition with regards to an outdoor storage plan. So changes that were made since we were last here in November, there were no changes made to the specific layout of the proposed project. Everything had to do with the stormwater management system and addressing some peer-reviewed comments which came in. Go one more. So we have a proposed subsurface stormwater management system located in this area right here. That was the original proposal, but based on some comments from Strong Point Engineering, we reworked that system to be higher in elevation to provide greater separation from the groundwater table. And in doing so, we raised the grade, the proposed grade of the parking area about 9 inches through this area to accommodate raising that stormwater system. We're still proposing the same amount of catch basins and drain manholes, and our outlet to the existing stormwater management system has not changed. So we also clarified a few items on the plan with regards to snow storage and other zoning compliant issues that had been brought up during the staff report. Once again, no major changes to the layout or concept of the proposed project, mostly just clarification and addressing comments with regards to the stormwater management system.
Okay, thank you for that. Guess I'll just ask if anybody who's hiding in the hallway has any questions or comments on this 116 Lundquist.
I'll check Johnson, too. Fleischer.
I think we can move right on to the member comments. Okay, Member McCamey, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions, thank you.
All right, thank you. Member Kent?
No questions?
Member Grove?
Yes, ma'am. The back lot where the open storage is happening, is that going to remain a gravel?
No, there'll be no more gravel surface on the lot. So what we're going to be doing is paving that gravel area so we have a nice flat surface where we can easily collect stormwater runoff and direct it towards our new stormwater management system. Where I believe it's almost 1 acre of impervious coverage that's going to be converted from gravel to pavement, and we're converting about 4,500 square feet of existing gravel area to a landscape area, which is in this area in the rear here, around the perimeter, just to square it off nicely.
Okay, and what's the impervious surface on the lot now going to be?
Impervious coverage is going to be 74% of the total lot area. We did receive zoning variance. Attorney Marinelli went over this, I believe, at our first public hearing. Currently allowed by the zoning bylaw in the watershed protection district in this zone, we're allowed 60% by right, and we did receive the relief from the zoning board to be increased to 74%.
And do you know what the how it was granted? What was it granted under? What was the problem with the property?
The problem with the property?
To grant a variance, you're supposed to have a problem. Soil shape of topography.
I'm just going to jump in, just considering that the variance was already issued by the zoning board and Attorney Marinelli isn't here tonight and it's been addressed.
I'd still like to know what the problem, soil shape of topography.
If you happen to know.
I don't have it off the top of my head, I apologize. I believe it's all documented within the decision, which I don't have handy.
Okay,
But
thank you.
that's all been
Okay.
recorded and on record.
Thank you. Yes.
The zoning board of appeals did issue the decision back in the spring. I would like to note that the applicant is reducing the impervious coverage on site as well.
I can't
So
barely hear you.
as part of the relief granted by the board, it's a commercial piece of property. The applicant reduced the impervious coverage on site. It was all hard-packed gravel. It was all considered lot coverage. They're coming in, they brought in the new pavement, and they actually reduced the lot coverage. Granted that it is a commercial site, they were required to obtain a variance to reduce that non-conforming lot coverage.
They reduced the lot coverage?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Member Storlazzi?
No questions.
Member Conley?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I don't have any questions either. Assistant Director Murphy, thank you for all your work on this, and thank you. Tonight, I did receive, as did the rest of the board, Attorney Marinelli's letter, just confirming on behalf of the ownership and applicant that the draft decision and conditions are acceptable. So I don't have any further questions. And, well, I guess I actually do have one question. Just on the correspondence list, it goes through January 8th, and Attorney Marinelli's letter is January 9th. Is that something that we would normally add?
I can add it to the
Okay.
correspondence list, and then a motion should note all correspondence through January 9th with Attorney Marinelli's letter.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we'd be looking for a motion to enter the correspondence list through January 9th, including Attorney Marinelli's letter.
So move.
We have a motion by Member Kent. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Grove. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Motion by Member Storlazzi. Do we have a second? Second by Member Grove. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then just be looking for a motion on the application itself. A motion to grant the special permit and site plan review, or if there's any other motion, that would be the next step.
So move.
A motion by Member Kent to grant the site plan approval and special permit, and a second by Member Grove. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, and that brings us to the end for the night. So be looking for a motion to close the hearing
To
tonight.
adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Member Grove. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Storlazzi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. See you in February. Thank you.